Hey there, it's Graciela here. In today's video, we'll be talking about generative actions in Power Automate. This is a new type of action that has been added this year to Power Automate, and it can be used to send a prompt. But this prompt not only will analyze and return a value, it will also perform actions on behalf of us. For example, adding a new tasking planner or sending an email, sending a Teams notification to someone, sending an approval request. So that's the main difference between these generative actions and quote-unquote regular prompts, because regular prompts will receive an input and give you an output that you later can use in the workflow. And if you want to send an email based on the results, or if you want branches, you can build the branches in the workflow using the results from the prompt or from the agent or the service that we have used. However, these generative actions can use connections and can use actions, and it will decide what is the best set of actions that it needs to perform based on the input that we give it. And there is a specific set of connectors that we can use for now. Most likely they will add more in the future, but for now, it's limited to, I would say, mainly Microsoft connectors like SharePoint, Outlook, Planner, Teams, and so on. So it's for now limited to things that talk inside the Microsoft ecosystem to each other. And for us to start creating generative actions in Power Automate, we just need to go to the portal. And then we go to the list of flows. If I go here to generative actions, here we're going to see any flows that we have created in the past. And if there's nothing new, we are going to create the flow as if we are generating it for a regular flow that is not a generative action. So in this case, we're going to go to new flow, and then we're going to go to the type of trigger that we need. In my case, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be receiving emails from suppliers. That could be invoices, it could be offers to new products, discounts, or it could be inquiries about payment status or account statements. So for us, it's going to be an automated cloud flow because the event is going to be a new email. Depending on the trigger that we want and how we want to use the action, in that case, well, we're going to be using a different trigger. For us, it's going to be the email. So let's look for when an email arrives, and let's make sure that we select the Office Outlook connector. So let's write classify supplier emails, and let's click on create. The trigger is set up the very same way that we would trigger a regular Power Automate workflow that doesn't have to do with generative actions. We would just need to make sure that it filters correctly if there's any sender that we want to filter, any subject that we want to filter. If this is a shared mailbox, then we should use the shared mailbox action, and so on. So in this case, we're going to say that we want to receive anything from, for now, my Gmail account, and we are going to add this subject filter so it only executes for this one. Once we want to move this to an actual solution or to be actually used in a project, we would need to just set up the correct filters. For now, we're testing, so we're good with this one. And in this case, remember that what we want to do is we want to classify the email and then just send an email to the AP team so they can see a summary of the email, the priority, and they will also see the classification. So for that, we are going to add a new action. And in the AI capabilities, we have here the option that says run a generative action. And here it's going to suggest other actions that we have in the same environment. In this case, we're going to create a new one. I already have here my prompt, and I'm going to paste it here. The more specific it is, the better. In this case, we are just saying, hey, classify this into these 5 categories. We're giving information about which is the criteria for each subject. And we are also asking for it to classify based on priorities, and we are also giving the criteria. I don't think that here from the beginning all the way to here, it's not too different from just having a quote-unquote regular prompt, because we can have prompts in the AI builders, we can have prompt in Azure Foundry, but what makes generative actions different is that they can perform actions on behalf of the user. And this is where we are going to see how that works, because we are going to ask to send a summary of everything to this user, and it's just going to do it on behalf of us. And we don't have to add an action in Power Automate to send the email. The agent or the agent flow itself will kind of do it for us. So we need to click on Generate. And what this will do, it will evaluate what are the inputs, it will evaluate what are the outputs, and it will evaluate what are the actions that we want it to perform. In this case, we want it to perform an email action, which is just sending a notification to this user, hey, there's a new email, this is the category, this is the priority. And then the user can do whatever he needs to do to handle. You can see here that we have the email ID, we have the email text. I don't think that we need the message ID. We really only need the email text, so we can pass it from Power Automate to the action. It's really important to note that Power Automate should be able to read the emails, but I think that it doesn't work that well when we try to read the email, so that's why I will delete it. It's better if we just send the email text. And here, when I was testing the first time, it only added the sent email. It didn't add the assigned category bulk. So this is where we would see what are the actions that Power Automate or the generative action thinks it should do. And you can see it's pretty similar to what we already have in Power Automate, but instead of creating it in Power Automate, we are having the AI decide this is what we need. We are going to add a category and we are going to send an email. If we don't want any of these, for example, I don't want the category bulk, we can just delete it. I would also delete this success count as part of the outputs and the failures. I don't think that we need it. If we want the AI to do something else, we can add more Outlook connectors or more things that we want it to do. For example, we could, add a contact based on who sent it if it doesn't exist, and so on. So we can see here that it's pretty much using my connection to send the email to the user that we are indicating here. And I think this is pretty similar to what we would do in Power Automate, but instead of building it ourselves, we just have the AI decide what are the actions that it needs to perform. And then once we click on Add, it should ask us what's the input and also give us some result back and just send the email. So let's add it. Okay, it's done. And here we can select what's the action that we want. It may take some seconds to load. I think it's this one. The other one was another test. And here it's where it should recognize the inputs. Sometimes it happens, it doesn't recognize the inputs for some reason. Let's try to change and add it back. It didn't recognize the input, so let's go back and edit. And let's generate suggestions again. If that doesn't work, we can delete it and add the new input, and that should be enough for the input to show up. This is a feature that is still in preview, so I think that might be why it's still a little bit buggy. Because it is buggy, it sometimes does whatever it wants. Okay, so now it added the message ID again, so let's delete it. Let's say edit, okay, and let's try. Okay, actually I'm editing the wrong one, so let's discard, cancel, and let's select this one and edit. Okay, so it goes back. It's being buggy a little bit. Okay, now, yeah, it's kind of changing itself. Let's see if it doesn't change now. Okay, let's try to click on edit. Okay, now it's good. Let's try to generate suggestions. Okay, so now it has the email text. Let's edit, add back, and then add. And let's see if now it recognizes the inputs. Okay, now it recognized the input correctly, and now we can use the dynamic content to just send the body. And we don't need to convert it from HTML to plain text because it automatically recognizes everything. Now we can save. It's important to mention that these Power Automate generative action workflows, they use Copilot messages licensing. So we can try to send it now and see if it works. But whenever I have tried this in the past, it doesn't let the flow to completely run. It ends with an error saying that we need licensing. So let's make sure, well, first, let's get the filter, put it here, and let's try to test. We're going to test manually, and we are going to send the email, then send. Okay, yeah, it started running. But as we can see, we got an error, so we need to set up Copilot Studio Messages licensing, and We can do that from the Power Platform Admin Center. So to be able to use generative actions or to even test them, unfortunately, we need to set up billing capability first. So for that, we need to go to the billing plans in the Power Platform. We just need to go here in the gear icon of either Power Apps, Power Automate, and then go to the Admin Center. Once we are in the Admin Center, we just need to go to the licensing section. In the licensing section, we can go to Copilot Studio, and here we can check if we have any billing plan. In this case, we can see that none of my environments have a billing plan. So we can go here to new billing plan, or we can also click from billing plans as well in this section. Here we're just going to assign a name, for example, Copilot Messages. And then we are going to select the share subscription and the resource group that we want to be built on. If we don't have a resource group, then we would need to go to the Azure portal and create a resource group so we are built there. And in that resource group is where we are going to get all the metrics and all the actions that we have used to be able to be billed for everything that we have used. So this is a pay-as-you-go billing. It's convenient in a way because you only get billed for what you use and you don't have to commit for a fixed license. But the requirement for this one is number one, that you are an admin of the environment and you have the access to create subscriptions or to use a subscription that already exists and to create resource groups. In my case, I already had one that I want to get built on. So I'm just going to select one of those. And then I'm going to select that this billing plan is for Copilot Studio. Then let's hit on next. It's going to ask me what's the region I want to work on. And then it's going to show me a list of all the environments that are either production or sandbox. So in this case, the environment I'm working in is this one. So I'm just going to save. And it will take a few minutes before this finishes provisioning the billing plan. If I go to the list here, you can see it's provisioning, so we have to wait a few minutes before it finishes so we can rerun our automation. Okay, so it's enabled now, so we can open the failed flow and let's try to re-execute and see if now the update in the billing will now let us run the automation. Okay, let's try to run it again. Let's edit, test, and send a new email. And yeah, we can see that it's running, and I think it should be done anytime soon. After we made the update, it let us run the automation, and it correctly classifies the email and sends the item as we said here. We can see that it's sending it to the right user from my account because I was the one that authenticated the action. And here's sending the summary. Here it is adding the detected category and the priority. This was a request about a payment that has not been received. So it's considered a high priority item and it was correctly identified. And it also performed the action that we asked the action or the generative action to do. And we can see that we didn't have to add new actions here to indicate send an email or add something to SharePoint or get the dynamic content from the prompt to later include it in the email and so on. Everything was done from the AI run or the AI runtime. So that's the main difference between using a regular prompt and using one of these generative actions because everything is executed inside the workflow. And you can see for now it's a little bit buggy, but I'm pretty sure that Microsoft will work on these features and improve them with time. Really important to reinforce the fact that we need a billing plan to be able to work with this at least for now. If we don't have a billing plan, then we cannot even test generative actions. And that's it for now. I hope that this was useful. See you next time.